I can also see the participants, or only you can see them? Huh, okay.
Only I can say. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today on how we can have more tech-driven people functions at our workplaces. My name is Aisha Tariq Sethi, and I'm your host for today. So we have today as our guest Mr. Essa Allawala. He is currently the head of talent and OD at Burque Corporation, and he's previously served as a director HR at Zameen.com and also as a group HR head at Multinet. So he has almost around 2 decades of experience that he brings to the table in human resources. And as technology becomes more and more embedded in our day-to-day lives and in our workplaces, so Mr. Essa has been very active in terms of implementing different technological solutions to automate different HR processes. So the theme of today's webinar is basically to discuss and get practical insights on how we can automate our different HR processes for speed and efficiency. What are the typical barriers or the challenges that we come across, and how we can deal with them? So there's no one best to share these sort of insights than someone who has already been through that journey. So welcome, Mr. Isa. We're really glad that you are here with us today.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you for this wonderful honor and opportunity. And my salam and hello to everyone who is connected. I can't see you, but you can see me. And thank you for joining, taking out time from your valuable time for this particular event. And it's a learning and progress. I'm no expert. I will just share what have learned and understood so far, and I think Aisha would lead this session and as it goes about, she will tell us that if there is going to be a Q&A in between or afterwards.
Great. So we'll initially have the dialogue, and towards the end, we'll have a dedicated time for Q&A. And I think during that time, some of the questions will also show up on the screen as well. So we'll take those questions one by one.
All right.
So the first question that I would like to ask, it's a bit general, but I think it's very pertinent to current times. That first of all, we need to define the value proposition of technology in HR. Uh, what is the value that technology can add to different parts of HR, be it recruitment, performance management, or employee engagement? So, what do you have to say about the value proposition of tech?
Well, I think getting from the paper to digital, this is something which has been going on for a couple of decades now. So the processes have been in every area, mostly business side, a lot on the finance side, have been getting digitized and all that. HR is a function which has transformed from, I would say, what it used to be called a personnel department to a more empathical and a function that cares and ensures that employees are taken care of along with the business's perspective. So while in the world right now, in the past, and it's been always the efficiency has been a paramount thing that we need to get efficient. The only way we can if we get efficient, that's one of the only ways that we can get ahead of the pack. So the businesses, all the functions of the business, they all go through this efficiency building improvement exercise. So why should HR not be a part of it? And everything is going from paper to digital, so why not HR? So yes, the value proposition is that it's efficient to be online and digital. It's cost saving for in terms of environment, the paper and everything. And of course, one of the major reasons is time. Is that how much time do you spend? I'll just give you an example. And this was something because we in my current organization also, we are going through a transformation where we are launching the HR app, the HRMS app right now. And I've been trying to explain to them that people say that mera isme kya fayda hai, what's in it for me. So the what's in it for you is that initially the process was that you had a paper made by HR. You need to make sure that you have it. You have to fill it when you're going to go for a leave. You're going to go and over to your line manager. who may or may not have time immediately. And then once he or she signs, then it goes to an HR department, and then you, sometimes in some organization, you need a copy of it, and you hand it over to HR department, or the person who's responsible for that, and you keep a copy and you keep following up. And when the time comes, and you pray that, okay, your leaves and everything has been updated. So now what happens? There is an app in my phone. I open it up. I select when I want to go on a leave, and I just apply. It goes to my line manager, and then he applies, he approves, and then it goes to the system, and my leaves are locked. And it's that simple. So it's efficient, it's time saving, and then it reduces bureaucracy. There's no paper, and yes, the organizations have now started looking into that, the carbon print of those activities, the technological activities which we do. But that's a longer topic for some other time. But yes, it saves time. So, and it's efficient. So Aisha, over to you now.
So, Isa, can you share which parts of HR have recently experienced this digital shift, and which you, in your experience, you have been actually been able to, increase efficiencies and maximize productivity. So, if you can share some light, for example, is it like recruitment, or is it performance management, where you've actually seen a visible enhancement in efficiencies if you have implemented digital?
All right. So every area of the HR is important. So the one of the important things for an employee who is already working, he or she gets to see their attendance every day, and you can see it on your app that you have been locked and everything. You can apply for leaves and all that, as I mentioned before. And yes, it has. It all started with the ESS, which is employee self-service, and this revolves around the employee's life cycle, whether it's attendance, leaves, and then other expenses. But yes, it has also evolved to a point where we have seen that it has become digital too in recruitment as well. So uh, it's in a lot of companies, there is no digital system available. But where it is right now, which we are talking about, that's a primary reason for our meeting today. Yes, recruitment is there, where you can actually digitally track where the employee is standing in terms of candidate is standing in terms of being hired or being interviewed and everything. And there are cases where organizations have invested, because in the fact that I, as a candidate, if I applied, so I can also at some time see where my profile is. So I'm, instead of calling somebody for HRG, mera status kahan hai, you can just log in and see where it is. And you have been selected, then you get an automated email. If you've not been selected, then you get a regret email. But that happens automatically. One thing I want to mention over here. Uh, some There are times, I think, if everyone who's listening to this has gone through some kind of job, or are going through are working somewhere, and they also apply someplace. One of the important things is that there are two things, but the last one answer we very rarely get, but the other one which we really crave for. If I have gotten not if I have not gotten selected, unless I follow up, nobody informs me. A lot of places,
That's
and
true.
that's something. And then there may be some efficiency at the HR side as well, but then sometimes there are a lot of candidates. So the technology, the artificial intelligence, the recruitment process, whenever there is selected or non-selected. So if you're not selected, an automated email can go with a nice predetermined text that you have not been selected. The
Hmm.
second thing, which is uh, every rejected candidate wants to know, which is not part of the system right now, why I was not selected. So we are very reluctant to answer that question at times, but I think it's not part of today's discussion. We can discuss this at some other time. Uh, and now coming to
In
performance
fact,
management.
sorry to interrupt you. I think there is a technical bug. If you can just give me a second. I
Sure,
think there's a bug and it's not like streaming on LinkedIn. Just let me resolve.
sure,
Just a
sure.
second.
I'll hold on.
Hello.
Yes, Aisha.
Yes, yes, we can continue. Sorry for the interruption. There was a bit of a technical bug.
It's all right. Happens sometime.
All right. So yes, we were talking about recruitment, and you mentioned that a lot of candidates they don't actually receive the rejection once they are rejected, and I think having AI to support us, because obviously those emails are sent in bulk, it really helps. So I just
Yes.
have a bit of a question over here. So usually the screening and the interviewing process that candidates go through, obviously it involves a bit of technical screening, which can be done through softwares, but then obviously there are a lot of in-person interviews involved. So I
Yeah.
think candidates, whoever the HR person is on the other side, needs to organize candidates in such a way कि सबका status एक जगह पे कहीं ना कहीं monitor हो रहा हो, and people who don't make it through the interviews, who are rejected, they're like एक तरफ वो हुए हुए हैं ताकि उनको एक automated email send करना आसान हो. So what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that? Do you think that can also be somehow automated, and if not, uh, like how can we become like more organized to make sure that we can capitalize on AI's efficiencies?
So, if I understood your question correctly, are you saying that the AI can help us schedule more efficiently also the interviews? Is that your question?
My question is basically that whoever is basically managing the recruitment process
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
to become more organized to make sure that only those candidates are sent rejection emails who have actually been rejected through all stages of the recruitment process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think everyone who has even been not selected in the stage one also needs to be informed because that's how you build trust in the organization. Uh,
true.
because I always say that if you advertise on your website, on your social media, your values and how good your culture is, people will only judge with experiences and from the people they know.
That is
So
very true.
I want to go to an X organization. It's really vibrant on the internet that these are people, this is our culture, there are videos, there are audios, and then I will still call somebody and ask who's been working or have worked over there. Shall I go there? Is this is the manager? How is he? Please don't go. This is all ABCD. So and I will my weightage of my decision will on base purely based on somebody I trust and
Mm-hmm.
somebody who is already experienced, right? So during the process, because if you know that there's a circle which we call the employee life cycle.
Yeah.
So every we just sometimes focus on a few and then just ignore that. The last cycle, when the employee is exiting from the system, he or she sometimes require a good exit. There is no problem in the full and final settlement, and nobody is bothering them, and whenever they call for the checks and everything is handed over nicely and everything. The send off dinner, they are just complimentary, that's not necessary, but people are mostly concerned that I might think things are taken care of. And you give them a very hard sort of a stare when they say that we are resigning. You don't facilitate them in everything. They will remember that, and
Mm,
when somebody else is going, they will say, don't go. Yeah, they misbehave when you're leaving. And
mm,
you need to be comforted at each level from the recruitment. And so before recruitment, the important thing is that what's your image in the market. That's the employee value proposition, and the
mm.
image is from the existing employees, not what you show on your website, on your social media. So yes.
True. So, I'm trying to also understand that okay, so if we are to have more tech driven people function in our organizations, what
Yeah.
do you think are the typical barriers that we encounter, especially in the local market, in terms of implementing technology, and how do you think we can overcome them? Because if there were no barriers, and every organization would have implemented technology in their HR
Yeah.
systems. That is not the
Yeah.
case.
There are a couple of things. Well, a little bit is the human behavior, and the other bit is the processes. Which one would you like me to touch first?
Let's start with behavior.
Yeah. So just like when the typewriter was introduced, and then every other technology that comes in the world and that's been presented to the management, the CEO, that's going to be efficient, they like it, they want to implement it. The behavior part is that people are afraid. you know I think in one of the movies I picked up a statement. I'm just quoting, I can't remember the name of the movie. You fear what you don't understand. And it's been said in the movie, but it really has a lot of weight. People reject technology, they reject ERPs, they reject HRM system because they don't trust it. They fear it. One of the biggest fear is that if we bring in this technology, what will happen to my job? And this is universal, from the car to typewriter to everything which we have. This is a supercomputer in my hand, and this is faster than the supercomputer that computed for the NASA space launch, which took Neil Armstrong. So it's a
Hmm.
human behavior at times. Uh, One of that, to bringing in any new digital technology, people need to be taken on board. Everyone who's going to be involved, taken on board, being assured that that's it's going to be for our benefit. And if you feel that there are people who are going to be redundant after this, because sometimes it does happens, because if I have got 5 people in my HR ops and then this app can do the work of those 5 people, what's going to happen with them? So that's the human behavior. And then again, if I go to the digital or technology behavior, that behavior is that sometimes, and I have a ERP system in my organization, or I have got some old legacy system in the organization, and I want to bring in a new technology. Sometimes they don't connect. There's no compatibility. So,
Hmm.
in order to build that compatibility, then you need to also invest in replacing your legacy systems as well. So sometimes that's a technology. Well, you really want to do it. Everybody is aligned and everything, but there is a legacy system. So I need to spend millions on a new digital HRMS technology. Now it's become on installments, or I would say a monthly thing also. But I'm just saying that at times you had to invest that kind of money, and then you invest another a couple of many millions into your legacy system. So then that's where people are not ready for that. But now there are, and that problem was there until last few years. But now there are solutions coming in where it can be done in stages.
Hmm.
So the behavior is there, and the digital. These are the two major barriers to entry to introduce anything, be it HRMS or anything else.
So, as far as a fair factor is concerned, I think one point that I would like to add is that um, while people are afraid that technology is going to replace their jobs, but if somebody who's actually been doing these roles since some time, at least in the local market, we can say, uh, we know for a fact that the jobs are not going anywhere, at least in the local market, as far as AI and tech is concerned, especially in HR, because no matter how much AI and how much technology we get, we still need people to
Agreed.
communicate, for relationship building, to correspond, to solve issues, for the day to day firefighting, which typically characterizes HR professionals.
Yes.
So, आप जितना भी कर ले, HR, so AI is there to like enhance our efficiencies and to make things easier and better. So the repetitive, monotonous tasks. For example, let's say if your employee's insurance is on a HRI system, or the attendance is being manually computed to, and at the end of every month you get statistics on, okay, so these people are eligible for overtime, these people were late, these many were on leaves, that these people are eligible for pay deduction,
Yeah.
whatever policies you feed. So I think वो सारी चीजें जब आ जाती है तो वो manual calculation चल जाती है, but at the end of the day, acting on those analytics and taking decisions based on that data, that is pretty much still the territory of human decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remembered something in one of my previous companies. Uh, our CEO is still he's still around, but he was a very visionary person, and we were implementing both ERP and HRMS system. And we knew, because we were all sitting in the management table at that time, and we all knew that after this activity, there will be people who will get redundant. So
Hmm.
he made us go through an activity where we identified that how many people where and where will start getting redundant.
Hmm.
And so there were two things going on. The mood in the boardroom was on the other side that we just have to let them go. And he kept on listening, and he said, after going through all that list, he said nobody's going to go anywhere.
Hmm.
Figure out new jobs for them and assure them, yes, there may be one or two people who just want to leave on their own because they don't think that they want to work on technology. That's their choice. But the
Hmm.
organization should not make them feel that okay, they are useless because they have served an X number of years. And you, as the management, he pointed towards us, you need to find out what they're going to do next. So it's going to be a 2-year process. You have enough time. Make sure you develop them, train them, and make them do something else. Nobody was fired, did that to date, because of there was technology change. So yeah, that's the kind of vision that also is required from the top, and it always driven from the top, that what's gonna happen with people once a technology comes in.
So, so one thing that you mentioned was about fear. That's a behavioral thing, and the other you mentioned regarding alignment with existing ERP systems. And I think typically a challenge आता है finance में,
Hmm.
where your HR needs to, for the payroll disbursements. The HR system needs to be integrated with the
Yes.
system in finance. So that's a
Yes.
very common area of intersection
Yes.
for these parts.
Yes.
But beyond that, are there any other barriers that you can shed light on, um, beyond these two?
I think it's always the humans and the technology, but I think we can also talk about that. What things can be digitized. Uh, for example, not just the attendance, everything else in the employee life cycle is used to be paper. So even the expense management, and I will tell you, that's something we encountered when we were implementing HRMS in one of my organizations. Our finance team said that we need those OPD receipts, uh, physical receipts, and our agenda was that it's going to be digital. We wanted that people can just pick up the phone, scan that receipt, upload it, and then apply, and it goes forward. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about 2014. Things must have changed a lot by after that, and they are. And they were unable to understand that we can't do that. We need that receipt. So we went through two processes, two stages to making them feel comfortable about it. We went and checked with the lawyer, an HR lawyer, said, "Do we need these receipts?" He said, "No." We went to a tax consultant within the company. He said, "Do we need this receipt for that?" He said, "We may. Somebody might ask." And I said, "No. Tell me, have anybody asked you in the last 10 years?" He said, "No." So
Hmm.
can I just ask somebody to just that we were people was at 52 locations, and there's somebody in a very remote location. When he sends that receipt, is going to travel for 10 days, and then some, and it's going to be processed. Can he just make a copy and just send it to us? They reluctantly agreed, and to date the process still works. So sometimes it's our own barriers we have created, and those barriers come from something existed in the past, but it has no longer exists, and we still believe it's there. And
Hmm.
a lot of people must have seen those pictures that we get circulated on WhatsApp, that a small baby horse was tied to, or baby elephant was tied to a chair. He couldn't get loose, but now it's grown to a full-fledged elephant, and he still feels that I can't break loose. But if he just pulls that chain, is nothing for him. So sometimes we are under those influence that okay, we still believe something exists, but the reality has changed and moved on. Somebody just
So I
have
think
to
it's the
jerk it.
tangibility aspect of it. We want to it's like feel the tangible receipt in our hands and be like, okay, fine, we've gotten it. वो होता है ना, receiving ले लिए, वो
Yeah,
जब तक हाथ में पेपर जब तक नहीं आता तो वो चैन नहीं पड़ता basically.
I think it's
So,
it's actually generational thing as well. So
yeah.
yes, yeah. So the music is digital on my phone, but when I was young, we had those cassettes. So yeah, we missed them, but this is the
And
new
I
way.
think one more. barrier that I've experienced is the quality of technology out there, and your selection of it.
Yeah,
uh, because jitna
absolutely. Yes,
interface hai, the easier it is to navigate. Like, you don't have to go under menu and then sub menu and sub menu to like find things. The
absolutely.
easier people are able to navigate those interfaces, the more likely they are to adopt. Because I've uh, personally implemented like two HRIS systems in my previous organizations, and both were different, right? One thing which
Yes,
was common in both of them was that एम्प्लॉयज का जो एक स्ट्रगल आता कि हमें ये ऑप्शन लीव अटेंडेंस की हमें मिल नहीं रही है। अब वो ऑप्शन दबी हुई होती थी मेन्यू के अंदर मेन्यू के अंदर, एंड देन विद इन मेन्यू, एंड देन इट वाज समवेयर इन बिटवीन। सो आई थिंक making seamless quality user interfaces, I think, will really accelerate the process of like technology acceleration. So for example,
yeah,
music, like
absolutely.
so many people have like moved on to Spotify, because
Yeah,
Spotify is very easy to use. Like, the interface is almost like naturally intuitive. So
yeah,
I think that's also one of the reasons why there's an overall reluctance and employee like struggle to actually
yeah.
get onboarded onto
I think
tech.
actually, Aisha, I missed that point, and I'm glad that you brought it up. The UI and UX definitely play a very very important role in ensuring that people adapt to that technology. So maybe the behavior part is not there, the integration part is not there. It's probably the design at times as well. Yes,
Mhm.
and you have touched upon the right thing that the design also matters. Yes, Spotify is very intuitive. There are, and especially if you could see that our attention span is it's drastically gone down. If
Yeah,
somebody sends me a voice note beyond 59 seconds, I sometimes refuse to listen it.
yeah,
And but those reels and happening on Facebook and Instagram these days, they become very addictive because they're very short, very quick,
yeah.
and everything. So it's the TikTok world these days. So why not make the apps very easy, very quick, that they
Mhm.
do a lot of work for you. So yeah, very good point.
So one of the which brings me to something I recall while I was implementing HRIS. Uh, so I wanted to make sure that all the employees have like digital files on the HRIS system, because I really wanted to cut down कि वो जो physical employee file में इतनी सारी चीजें लगी हुई होती हैं, and then you have to like
Yeah.
store them and manage them. Like, let's like keep the physical employee file like really precise to the basic documents which need to be on paper, and shift everything else to the digital. But we barrier aata tha कि employees would like try to update their information and everything, and they would come up and they say कि सेव ही नहीं हो रही, अपडेट ही नहीं हो
Hmm.
रही, हमारी
Yeah.
यूनिवर्सिटी की ऑप्शन नहीं आ रही, हमारी वर्क प्लेस की ऑप्शन नहीं आ रही। तो दी
Yes.
ये
Yes.
छोटे छोटे किंग्स जो होते थे, अब ऑब्वियसली एचआर वुड लाइक फॉलो अप विद देम। वो एक बार उन्होंने बोला अच्छा ठीक है हम कर देते हैं, बट व्हेन दे कीप would keep on running into kinks, and as you mentioned ke
Yeah.
attention spans itne chote, nobody wants to like try the same thing over and over again, and run into
Yes.
like
Yes.
so
Acha, there is another steps that if we are implementing an HRMS or HRIS software, one thing while deciding to select one is that you also need to see with your vendor, whoever you are choosing, that how agile they are, how many
Hmm.
clients they have worked with, and of course you go and talk to those clients as well, because
Hmm.
you just launch an ESS and then you are unable to launch the PMS or performance management for 2 years, then
True.
then you are now this is dual trouble for you. One few things you're doing on digital, the other things you're doing on paper. Okay. So for this kind of situation, and if you do not get out of this rut very quickly, you will actually need more manpower for that.
That is very true.
Yeah. So that is something I've experienced. Is that yes, you may want to uh, implement those in stages,
Hmm.
and but those stages should be very clear, and all the stages should be, you should spend like 80% of your time in that planning. Maybe you spend a whole year going through what's going to happen, because what is already happening will continue to happen in the background. But when you're ready to launch, that should be in uh, periodic but very measured spaces. And one more thing, again, my CEO at one of the companies, he taught me another very valuable thing. He was a technology CEO, and he has seen world much more than me. And then he's sitting on a CEO chair. He sees things very differently. So when we were launching our second phase of modules, uh, why am I saying these things? Because it's not just the software, it's not the UI, UX experience, the behavior, and everything. There are other stages that we need to look into when we are launching something. So there were two modules that were ready, and I emailed to him that we're ready to launch them, and from falana falana date they will be launched, and we will like you to come. Oh no, that's the first day. And you please come and say something. He emailed me back. He said, "Come and see me." So I went to meet him, and he said that what do you plan to do? I said, we're going to launch these two modules. Like, are you going to write that? Yes,
Hmm.
I'm going to write that. Like, please don't write that. So what do you want me to write? He said, write. It's a beta version. It's going to be tested for 3 months. They're going to eat you alive. You're going to say that it's ready. You don't know what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
despite launching in it, calling and launching it the beta version, we almost got eaten alive because there was a lot of resistance. People don't want to adapt. They don't want to learn. Why do I have to do this? Okay, now you're going to call us for another session and you're going to teach us something else. So there was a lot of resistance, a lot of levels. So I thank him for so much for giving me that technological insight on how humans will behave when technology comes in.
And when it comes to human behavior, I think HR should also, take a very firm stance in saying कि ठीक है जो चीज पोर्टल के थ्रू होनी है या टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू होनी है, we are not going to manually deal with it, because the moment you start entertaining those manual requests, especially if they're supposed to come through the self-service or self-help portal, it's a never-ending line, like you're sitting on your seat and somebody's gonna drop by, oh mera ye nahi hua, mera ye nahi hua. So I
Yes,
think
yes,
that hard stop, that no, if you really want this thing to done, you open a ticket on the portal and then you
yeah,
follow over there.
absolutely. And then different organizations behave differently when technology gets deployed. So if somewhere I may have a encounter problem, I may not have an encounter problem somewhere else, and vice versa. So this is where the consultants who have worked with different kind of clients, they also play a very pivotal role. Khali, they just don't should not go and sell that UI UX and this is going to happen. They have to also sell the part that how you're going to implement this, because I
Mhm.
don't know why, but it's also part of their responsibility as well that they guide their customers. So if I've
Yeah.
implemented for 100 companies and this is the first time I'm implemented as I'm having this technology in my company, somebody has to be really honest with me and be very
Hmm.
practical that this is
Actually,
something you're gonna work.
unfortunately, and that brings me to another insight that unfortunately, people who are deployed to implement these technologies within the organization, they don't know anything about HR. They are just hardcore, tech people, and they're not able to communicate with the client on what are the requirements for implementation. For example, having very clear HR policies. Because at the end of
Yeah,
the day, आपकी HR policies ही system में जाके feed होती हैं, and then that's how the system becomes customizable to your organizations. But
yeah,
if the
absolutely.
technology provider is not going to make that a requirement or ask you first that do you have clear HR SOPs or policies that you want to implement in the system? Can you please share them with me so that I can review and see, if you're able to integrate them. अगर ये
Yeah.
requirements service providers नहीं पूछेंगे तो obviously things are going to start going haywire from there.
Some of the top ERP service provider, for example, they have people from every function on some kind of setting with them that they are on board as consultants. So for any software, if we're talking about in HR in particular, when you're building that, because last year, a senior colleague of mine, he's engaged in building a HR software which is going to be implemented in UAE. He spent like 45 minutes to an hour just understanding what I would see as HRMS function, and
Hmm.
he selected a few. I was one of the fortunate ones, and that's the approach we need. That he was an HR person himself at one time, and he was investing in HR technology. But still, that's the point I'm trying to make. That he was a much more successful HR person than me. He is investing in HR technology, building them, but he's still going out and taking perspective. He's not thinking that I am Mr. Know It All and I know what everybody wants. So he's taking perspective, and now here I am talking about him. And if he comes and pitch to me, I will definitely look into it what he is presenting. So yes, you need specialists, and again, there is another HR company in the market. They have a sizable number of people who are on board. They continuously talk to other HR professionals like me and take inputs, and they value that inputs very well. And if you are a customer and if you introduce a benefit, they will give it to you for free and charge everybody else. And that's the kind of benefit they give. So yeah,
So, Isa, we have some questions coming up. So,
yes.
one question that has come up is how do you track company goals or individual goals using technology?
Come again.
How do you track company goals or individual goals using technology?
All right. So beyond Excel, I'm sure they meant.
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, yes, everything initially has to be designed on paper or in Excel. But yes, there are softwares available in the market where these goals can be, added to the system, and then the AI can go around, track them itself, or maybe it can help the user do that. So yes, technology. There are HR softwares available as well, and there are softwares where it's not HR software, but there are lots of apps where you can input your goals and your targets, and they are sometimes used by project managers as well, and you can track yours and other people's progress as well in part of your teams as well. So yes, there are softwares available. I'll just look
And
up a few names and I will suggest them afterwards,
And
which
I,
I'll
I,
use.
I think one thing that obviously needs to be done is that once you set a goal, जब आप performance management का जब module activate करते हैं in the HRIS, obviously उसमें goal setting का जो form होता है, so every person like goes and then like fills in their goals, and
Yeah,
obviously once they are able to achieve those milestones, like, it's also possible to like break some of those goals into like achievable milestones. So once you
yeah.
achieve milestones one by one, the person obviously has to like go inside the system and like update के okay milestone one achieve, two achieve, three achieve. अब फिर
जी
इसका
बिल्कुल
goal
ऐसी हो.
एक percentage पर आना शुरू हो जाती है कि
Absolutely.
23% of the goals have been completed, 56%
Yes.
and so on and so forth.
Yes, Aisha, absolutely. For example, beginning of the year, you have set up your goals. You have Ideally, it's the goals should not be more than four or five, and it can be broken down to a few more objectives. But all these goals, they need to be assigned a weightage, and then those weightage has to be distributed on a monthly, weekly basis. That's something you can do, and then you upload those things. And when you update your progress, obviously your line managers has some way of tracking it offline as well. So he or she approves it, and the progress is there. Sometimes there are softwares, they show it so nicely that your just like on your Apple Watch, there's a circle when the progress is getting better, and it motivates you. So when you look at your goals and they're getting achieved, it gives you a confidence, a sense of achievement, and that helps drive that as well. Because ri- in the traditional way, writing things down helps you motivate things. In the digital way, watching your progress motivates
Very
anyone. Yeah.
true.
So there should be a system, either it's on the paper or on digital, but there should be a system for everyone. There should be a reminder system for everyone.
Because for example these fitness watches like Apple Watch and Fitbit, when you walk a certain number of steps, it says, oh, goal accomplished 10,000 steps and 12,000 steps. And even if people haven't like really walked those 10,000 steps, maybe they were traveling in the car or goal achieve ho gaya, but there's a certain I think a high attached to getting that message from your watch that
Yeah.
you've achieved that goal.
So
So that digital
you
prompt,
you're standing at 9,700 steps. It tells you 300 more steps to go, and then you
yeah,
just walk and do a 3 rounds in your bedroom, and you're happy that you achieved your goal. So that's
yes,
technology. That's AI.
yes. So, is there anything else that you would like to share, Isa? I think we don't have any further questions.
I think uh, if this is my last words for this session, I said that technology is for our benefit. It does have its good and bad attributes, But I would encourage that, whenever a technological solution comes your way, do give it a try, do look at it, and look at it from a perspective that is it improving my efficiency? Is it saving my time? Is it going to save my money also? Maybe this initial cost may be a little bit high, but it's going to long run save my money as well. Can also can technology, help me delegate repetitive tasks which I don't have to do? Because even in MS, if you have an MS 365 subscription, there are some tasks that you can do repetitive for you. There are ways where if you're mentioned anywhere in any email, it can just tell you that you are mentioned somewhere, that somebody, even MS 365 reminds me if I say to somebody that, I need to do something, it asks me that, have you done this? So
Yeah.
this technology is helping me. It will help you as well. So do adopt technology. That's all I have to say. If there's any other questions, I'll take it, and up to you.
All right, so we don't have any further questions right now. Thank you so much, Isa, for your time. And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
everybody, for joining us today.